Hello to all. Good morning. Good morning. Yes. So we are teaching you the strength of material. Okay, and in the strength of material, we have started the deflection. Yesterday we have seen what are the basics for basic formulas of deflection. We have seen the sign convention and we have seen the equation of elastic curve. Today we'll look at the different methods for deflection. But before going, you should know that you are studying at the Unacademy Gate CE channel, right? So those who are new to this channel, please click on the subscribe button and get the bell notification on so that you can get the videos notification on your YouTube whenever any new video comes, right? So that is very compulsory, sir, right? And it's a you please share this video more and more. Use the hashtag get prep delhi. Use the hashtag get prep delhi. You can see that when you see the posters of our particular lectures, right? Those who are those who can prepare on their own, right? The content itself is available here, it will be sufficient, but what is the difference, what is the difference from here to the other part is the difference lies in the competitiveness, the difference lies in the test series, the difference lies in the doubt clearing sessions, right? The difference lies the interaction. Suppose you want the interaction with us, you want the personal care from us, right? That is possible on the Unacademy Plus. You want some more content from us, you want some more very good education from us, so you can get that from Unacademy Plus, right? And you can meet you can get inside interacted with us with the different batches. You can see the different batches are there, right? You can you can get to that batch, right? And see that the teaching level is very different over the competitive environment. The way you are talking with us, that is very different, right? The look at the way you pose the doubts, we write the answers, that is again very different, right? And those who want to go for subscription, what they need to do, they should be using my code, that is bar 10. The as my name is Abhishek Bhartiya, right? Something that is heavy, that's why I'm writing bar, BHAR, bar 10, right? Bar 10, right? This, if you are using, you are just supporting me, you are just supporting me to perform much better and to give much better to you. The quality should be improved day by day. Okay, so use this code, and when you are going for the subscription, you can see that there are different options of subscription. But if you get recommendation from me, I will suggest 12-month or 24-month subscription. 12-month subscription should be taken by those who are in the final year or just passed out, right? Those who need to write the gate in the 6 months, right? And those who are in the second year, third year, they need to take the 24 months time, because it's very cheap, right? You can understand that it's very cheap per month. It's very feasible to tackle per month. See, it is 1250 per month. That's very less, right? So you can go for that. Okay, so that's it. Let's come back to our topic, right? So you know about me. That's Abhishek Bhartiya, sir. Let's come to our chapter. Let's come to our chapter. Okay, okay. So yesterday we have discussed about the different methods. What are the different methods that we have only discussed? Today I will start with the methods one by one. So the first method is double integration method. The first method I'm talking about, double integration method. Double integration method. The first method we are looking at the double integration method, right? So this is a very famous method which you follow in your colleges, but this cannot be used for the gate objective or ESC objective. Yes, we will be using this for the ESC conventional when it will be asked in the question. Okay, so the double integration method, first of all, you should know when we can use and when we cannot use. Okay, so double integration you can use only when use use only when use only when beam is prismatic. Use only when beam is prismatic. What do you mean by prismatic beam? What do you mean by prismatic beam? Prismatic refers to uniform cross section throughout the length. Yes or no? Prismatic refers to uniform cross section throughout the length, right? So use only for when the beam is prismatic. Second, cannot use for non-prismatic beam. Non-prismatic beam. Okay, obviously, if it is used for the prismatic, cannot be used for non-prismatic, right? And the next point is, it can be used when uniform bending equation is obtained throughout the beam. Right? It is obtained throughout the beam. Okay, so just try to understand what I'm saying, that what the third point is saying, that it can be used only when uniform bending equation is obtained throughout the beam. So it means that try to understand, it means that suppose the point loads are acting at the span. So if the point loads are acting at the span, if at one section the bending moment is having a particular equation, then at the other section the bending equation will change. Okay. So if this happen, okay, so you cannot use the double integration method. Means that if the point load or concentrated moment is acting on the span, we cannot use the double integration method. What I am saying, try to understand, if the suppose any load is there, okay, like point loads are there. So if one portion you get a bending equation, right, of a particular value, then the other portion of the point load you get some different value, which is not allowed to get. That means that for that particular case you cannot use the double integration method. Is it clear? So what I need to write here, it cannot be used when uniform, that means let's say when concentrated point load or concentrated moment is acting on the span. Okay, got the point? So just try to see. I have taught 4 points for the double integration method. First, used when beam is prismatic, so non-prismatic it cannot be applied. Used only when uniform bending equation is obtained throughout the beam. That means it cannot be used when concentrated point load or concentrated moment is acting on the span, because due to the application of concentrated point load or concentrated moment, the bending equation will not remain constant throughout the length. Okay, is it clear? Right. Okay, now see. So I'm going to let you understand this with a question. Okay, let us see this with a question. So what is saying, that for the cantilever beam, shown in the figure, determine for the cantilever beam shown in the figure, determine what? Slope and deflection slope and deflection at the free end. Slope and deflection at the free end. Okay, so let me show you the beam. This is a cantilever beam, and this cantilever beam is subjected to UVL. It is subjected to UVL with W kilonewton per meter at the support and 0 at the free end, and the length of the beam is L, and that would also be the length of the UVL, right? So one is A, other is B. Okay, so you need to determine the slope and deflection at the free end. Okay, so how to proceed? First of all, think that whether you can apply double integration or not. Yes, so nothing is mentioned about the beam, so you are going to take it as a prismatic. Okay, second, if you cut any section in the beam, what is the bending equation? Okay, so let us move left, right to left. If I move right to left, okay, suppose this section HZ. So if I take this section HZ, what I'm going to see that with the distance h, what is the height? Yes, come on, tell me, what is this height? Yes, you know that. What is this height? Come on, tell me fast. I want this height. If I move L distance, the height is W. So if I move H distance, what will be the height? Yes, it is WH by L. Very good. It is WH by L. Very good. Okay, so the first of all, if I write the bending equation at this section HZ, if I write the bending moment equation at the section HZ, okay, so what's the value? Right to left clockwise is negative. Yes, so you can imagine as a point load and see the rotation. It is clockwise or anti-clockwise? Yes, it is clockwise or anti-clockwise? It is clockwise, so it will be minus. What is the area of the load? Half into WH by L into H. And what is the lever arm? It is nothing but H by 3. Is it clear? So you get the value as minus WH cube by 6L. So this is the bending moment at the section HZ. Now think, if you go anywhere along the beam, this bending equation will be same, because the h is the variable along the length, other parameters are constant. Is it clear? Yes. So since the bending equation is constant throughout the length, we can use it. But yeah, if I applied a point load anywhere, so on one portion of the point load, the bending equation will be different, and on the other portion it will be different. Is it clear? Okay. So see now. So this is a bending equation. Now we know that from elastic curve equation, I've dealt it yesterday. From elastic curve equation, you can write this as M is equal to EI d2y upon dh2. Yes or no? Yes, you can write this. So what I'm going to write, when you are writing this, M is equal to EI d2y by dh2. So what we can write? See, what we can write? We can write as EI d2y by dh2. This is equal to minus WH cube by 6L. So this becomes my, let us say, second equation. No issue. Okay, so why the name comes double integration? The double integration name come because we will integrate 2 times for getting the slope and deflection. Okay, and the integration would be indefinite integration. That is, the definite integration is not there. That means you will be using the constants. Okay, so let us integrate to both sides. Integrate to both sides. So if you integrate, what you are going to get? EI dy by dx, this is equal to minus w by 6l. H cube integration is h power 4 by 4 plus constant that I am writing as C1. Okay, so this is my third equation. Okay, so this dy by dx, see this dy by dx, see this dy by dx, see this dy by dx. Yes, this dy by dx is what? Nothing but slope. So this third equation we will be using for getting the slope at any point after finding the constants. Okay, next integrate 3 both sides. So you can see that you have done the double integration. Integrate 3 both sides. So now if you integrate, it will become EI y minus w by 24l, l power 5 by 5 plus C1h plus C2 plus C1h plus C2 plus C1h plus C2. So this is a fourth equation. Okay, dear. Now look at the fourth equation. What you are getting in this equation? You are getting y. That is your deflection. Is it clear? So the first equation will give you the slope. The second equation will give you the deflection. Is it clear? The first equation will give you the slope. The second equation will give you the deflection. Is it clear? Yes. So before finding the slope and deflection at any point, we need to find C1 and C2. Okay, then only you can give a definite value of slope at any point in the beam. See why I am doing this on my own, why I am doing this everything on my own. The reason is this is for conventional. This is pure for conventional. This is not an objective question. Okay, that's why I'm dealing it directly. Got the point? Okay. So look here. I need to find the value of C1 and C2. And for finding the value of C1 and C2, we need to use boundary condition. We need to use boundary condition. We need to use boundary condition. Use boundary condition. Okay. So how to use the boundary condition? See here. Look at the deflected shape. Look at the deflected shape. So is there any point where you can exactly say what is the value of slope and deflection? Yes. Is there any point where you can exactly say what is the value of slope and deflection? Yes, come on, tell me. Yes, there is a point A. So at point A, what you know, y is equal to 0 because it's a fixed and slope is also equal to 0. Yes or no? So this will be using for the boundary condition. Is it clear? Is it clear? So see now. So use boundary condition. So first condition I'm using as at h is equal to 0. Sorry, at h equal to A is lying at L distance, right? So at h equal to L, dy by dx is equal to 0. So just look here. Dy by dx, look at this. Look at the third equation. So what I can write? 0 is equal to minus w by 6l into L power 4 by 4. This is 6l. Right. Into L power 4 by 4 plus C1. Okay, so what I see, L cancel L power 4 by 3, it's become L cube, right? And C1 will be equal to WL cube by 24. So C1 value you got as WL cube by 24. Is it clear? Is it clear? Yes or no? Is it clear? Right. Now see. So you got the value of C1. Now I want the value of C2. So I'll use the second boundary condition that at x equal to L, y is equal to 0. Why I follow this procedure? Because if I use y is equal to 0 first, then in the first equation itself, I will get C1 and C2 unknown. So I will use second, I will directly put the value of C1 while I am substituting x equal to L, y is equal to 0. Right? So it is 0 is equal to minus W by 24L into L power 5 by 5. This is L power 5, right? Yes. L power 5 by 5. Okay. Plus C1 you got as WL cube by 24. This multiply with L plus C2. So what you are going to get from here? See. What you are going to get from here? L cancel L power 5 by 4. So L power 4. Right. So 0 is equal to minus W L power 4 by 120 plus W L power 4 by 24 plus C2. Okay. So from here, you get C2 is equal to 120 is the LCM. WL4 I am taking outside. Okay. So it is what? We have gone opposite side. So it is 1 minus 5. Okay. So that is 4. That is 30. So it is minus WL power 4 by 30. So answer is minus WL power 4 by 30. So C2 you are getting as minus WL power 4 by 30. Okay. So that is the value of C2. Okay. So this is the way we found the boundary condition. Yes or no? We have found the boundary condition. Right. Now once you find the boundary condition, you can use the equation of dy by dx and y for finding the slope at the free end. Okay. Slope and deflection at the free end. So look here. So slope at free end. Slope at free end refers to x is equal to 0. That means I am talking about EI dy by dx. This is equal to, I need to put x is equal to 0. So look at the third equation here. If I put x equal to 0, the first term cancelled out and the EI dy by dx will be equal to C1. EI dy by dx will be equal to C1, which is equal to, we have already find that WL cube by 24. Is it clear? So the slope at A, that is x is equal to 0, is equal to WL cube by 24 EI. Is it clear? It is WL cube by 24 EI. Is it clear? Right. So that is the slope at the free end. Okay. Next, I want to talk about deflection at the free end. Deflection at the free end. That is nothing but again x is equal to 0 because you are moving right to left. Okay. So I am talking about EIY. So I need to find y. So you can see that look at the fourth equation. If I put x equal to 0, then first term and second term is equal to 0 and the entire value will be equal to C2. The entire value is equal to C2, which is nothing but equal to minus WL power 4 by 30. Is it clear? So y you are getting as minus wl power 4 divided by 30 ei. Okay, is it clear? So this is the slope and deflection. This is the slope and deflection at the free end. This is the slope and deflection at the free end. Just look at this. Just look at this. They're not going to ask such type of question in the objective. That's why I've dealt the entire question on my own. I haven't allowed you to do anything. The reason of this is such type of question can be asked only in the ESE conventional. So just know how you are going to solve these questions. Okay. For that purpose only, I have let you solve this double integration method question. So just look at this. Just look at this. Any doubt, please ask. Any doubt, please ask. Yes. Any doubt? Any doubt you are having, please ask. Any doubt? Okay. Now let me tell you the meaning of this plus minus in the dy by dx and y is equal to 0. Just look here. The first thing that you should understand, you are moving left to right or right to left. The first thing you should understand, you are moving left to right or right to left. Okay. So we have taken the section with 0 at the right and increasing towards left. So as I already told you that plus h will be towards left, minus h will be towards right, plus y will be upward always, minus y will be downward always. Okay, so now see here, look at this, at the B point, if I draw the tangent, this tangent is making the angle theta B with respect to, look at this tangent is making the angle theta B with respect to horizontal. Okay, and it has a vertical deflection of delta B. So you can see that it is moving downward, and if it is moving downward, we know that it should be negative. Yes or no? It should be negative. So you can see that the y value are coming as negative, that is, it is downward. Yes. And what we also know that the different tangents that you can see, so you can see that the anti in this case is negative and the clockwise is positive. Yes or no? So you can see here, look at this theta B. It is clockwise or anti-clockwise? It is clockwise or anti-clockwise? Yes, it is clockwise. And for the given case, clockwise will be what? Positive. So see that the result you are getting, look at the dy by dx is equal to 0. The result you are getting, this is also positive, and the positive imply clockwise rotation. Is it clear? Yes. Is it clear? Right. So whenever you are going to get such question, what you need to do, the first thing that you should understand that you can use this equation only when the bending equation remains same throughout the beam. Right. Then only you can use this equation. If the bending equation is not same throughout the beam, you cannot use this equation. You cannot use this equation. Right. You cannot use this equation. Then what I did, I used the equation of elastic curve. And I substituted m is equal to ei times d2y by dh2. Okay, I use the m as ei d2y by dh2. And then I do the double integration, got the indefinite integral, right? Put the boundary condition, get the value of c1 and c2. Then after getting the value of C1 and C2, use the condition where you need to find the slope and deflection, get the value, check the result using the sign convention. Is it clear? Any doubt, please ask. Any doubt, please ask. Yes, any doubt, please ask. Any doubt, please ask. Yes. Any doubt you are having? Any doubt you are having, please ask. Nothing more than that you should know in the double integration. This is enough. I already told you this is not for the objective. This is for conventional. Right. Okay. So let's see the next. Let's see the next. So this is your first method. This is your first method. Let us look at the second method. That is Macaulay's method. Now in this method, the theory that I'm going to deal will be asked in the objective. Theory part they can ask from the objective. Okay. So the first thing is this method can be used only for prismatic beam. It can be used only for prismatic beam. It cannot be used for non-prismatic beam. It cannot be used for non-prismatic beam. Okay, so this is the first. Second, see, you just studied double integration method, and in the double integration method, what you saw that you can use that method only when the uniform bending equation can be obtained throughout the beam. But in the Macaulay method, you can use this method even in that case when the uniform bending equation is not obtained throughout the beam. That is, the point load or the concentrated moment is acting on the span of the beam. Okay, so this method can be used even when uniform bending equation is not obtained throughout the beam, that is it can be used when concentrated point load or concentrated moment is acting on the span. Okay, so that is the advantage of the Macaulay's method from the double integration method. In the double integration method, you can use the method only when uniform bending equation can be obtained. But the Macaulay can be used even when the uniform bending equation is not obtained throughout the beam. That is, I'm saying that when the concentrated point load or the concentrated moment is acting on the span of the beam, you can use this particular method. Okay. So what are the various steps? How we are going to see that this Macaulay works? So let's see. Suppose I'm taking a simply supported beam. Okay, suppose I'm taking a simply supported beam, right? And just a minute. This simply supported beam is subjected to point loads. Okay, let us say point load of P and P at distance of L by 3, L by 3, L by 3. Okay, so A, B, C, D, let us say. Okay, A, B, C, D, right? So now, if someone asks me, what is the reaction? Come on, tell me first, what is the reaction, sir? What is the reaction at the support? What is the reaction at the support? Yes? What is the reaction at the support? Yes? What? Come on, reply, man. What is the reaction at the support? Nothing but PP. Yes or no? Now, I'm moving left to right. So, for the portion AC, suppose someone asks me to write bending equation at the section H1 for AC. For AC, what is the bending equation for the section H1? Come on, tell me first. H is the variable. H is just a variable, nothing more than that. Yes, H is just a variable, nothing more than that. Tell me, what is the bending moment at section H1? Yes, use the sign convention. Left to right, clockwise positive, anti-clockwise negative. So it is clockwise. So the value is P into H. Okay. If I go for CD, if I want to write the bending equation at any section line, the CD portion, right? Let us say the distance from the left end is H. That's just a variable. Again, I'm saying that. Okay, that's just a variable. So, if I want to write bending moment at section H2, what I should write? Come on, tell me first. Write in the comment box. What I should write for the bending moment at section H2. Yes? 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 What should I write? Clockwise positive, anti-clockwise negative. Clockwise positive, anti-clockwise negative. Yes? Nothing but P into H minus P into H is the moment caused due to the support reaction at the section H2. Minus, look at the vertical load that is left of H2, that is acting downward. So this is creating the anti-clockwise moment. So it is P minus P into H minus L by 3. Is it clear? Is it clear? Right. Similarly, if I go for DB portion, I have told you I will be moving left to right. So I take the section H3, and that is at a distance H. I'm repeating again and again. H is a variable, just a variable, similar like jalebi. Okay, so I need to find M, H3. Move left to right. Go one by one. So first you see the upward load of P, which is creating a clockwise moment. So it is P into H minus. The next load is acting downward, that is acting at C. That is what? P into H minus L by 3. This is creating a moment. Minus. Next is P into H minus 2L by. So these are the different moments acting at AC, CD and DB. Right. So what Macaulay say? Step number one. Macaulay said that take the section just before the end of the beam. And write the bending equation. Write the bending equation with with the braces put after each term to indicate whether the next term is valid or not. To indicate whether the next term is valid or not. To indicate whether the next term is valid or not. Okay. To indicate whether the next term is valid or not. Now, I will be explaining. See this. Suppose there is a beam AB. Suppose this is a beam AB. Right. So, beam, I'm starting from A, I'm ending at A. So, it is saying that take the section just before the end. That means I need to take H1, H1, H2, H2 or H3, H3. Yes, I need to take H1, H1, H2, H2 or H3, H3. Yes, yes, it is H3, H3. Very good. Right. So, I would be writing the bending equation of H3, H3. Bending equation for H3, H3. So, what is the bending equation? P into H minus P into H minus L by 3 minus P into H minus 2L by 3. Yes or no? So, this you are going to get. And what is said? You need to put the braces after each term. You need to put the braces after each term. You need to put the braces after each term. So, the biggest doubt the student used to have, sir, which term we should place at the start? The starting term should be one term which is always applicable. Always applicable, that means at any section you take, it should be applicable. So, that is your PH, that is your first term. Is it clear? First term. Next is your second term. Next is your third term. Is it clear? Right. So, what is said? You need to take the section just before the end of the beam. Write the bending equation. Put the braces after each term to indicate whether the next term is valid or not. Now, what I told, the first term should be always the term which should be seen in all the section. You can see that the term is PH. So, for remembering what you can do, the force that is acting at the leftmost corner or the start of the beam should be the first term. Okay. Now, validity. How you can say the term is valid or not? The term is valid or better to say what I'm going to write. The term in the bracket, or better say, simple I'm writing, the term is valid only when the bracket term, can you see the bracket term? Look at the braces. After brace, you can see P into H minus L by 3. So, this H minus L by 3 is the bracket term. Similarly, next, H minus 2L by 3 is the bracket term. So, the term is valid only when the bracket term is positive. After putting the value of H, the term should be positive. If it is negative, or 0, if it is negative or 0, the term will be invalid. That means you are not going to use that in the equation. Okay, the term will be invalid. So, you have this equation. Right? You know that for AC, look at the AC. H lie between 0 to L by 3, yes or no? For AC, what is the range of H? For AC, what is the range of H? Yes, 0 to L by 3, yes or no? Yes. So, for AC, h lies between 0 to L by 3. Okay, so if I put this in the equation that I got above, so the first term will be there. The first term exists. I will write like this: exist or valid or invalid. Valid or invalid. Okay. So if I write h equal to 0, if I put h equal to 0 or 0 to L by 3, better take any value between 0 to L by 3. Let us say L by 6. Let us say L by 6. Okay, so if I put L by 6, then the first term will exist. The second term will be a negative. The bracket term will be negative because L by 6 is less than L by 3. And the third term will also be negative. So the second and third term will be invalid and only first term will be valid. So valid means only first term here is valid and second and third invalid. And that you can see in the above equation also. Look in the portion AC. You can see the moment is written as P into H. And you are saying that only first term is valid. So the moment you are going to get as P into H. Is it clear? Is it clear? Yes? Is it clear? Right? Similarly, if I talk for CD, so H lies between. If I talk for CD, look here, CD. H lies between L by 3 to 2L by 3. Yes or no? H lies between L by 3 to 2L by 3. Okay. L by 3 to 2L by 3. Right. So what I am going to write? Where it is valid and where it is invalid. Where it is valid and where it is invalid. See here. Validity. So if I put anywhere H between L by 3 to L by 3, let's say that is L by 2. Right. So if I substitute L by 2, we can see that the first term is valid. Yes. If I put H equal to L by 2 in the second term, the bracket term is positive. So again it is valid. Yes. But if you look at the third term will be invalid. Okay. So validity, if I talk, first and second, and invalid is the third term. And again you can see this from the equation I got. You can see the first and second values. Okay. Is it clear? Yes? Good. Next, I'm talking for dB. So here the H lies between, remaining is what? 2L by 3 to L. 2L by 3 to L. H is greater than 2L by 3 and less than L. Less than equal to L. So validity. If you put anywhere 2L by 3 to L, right? The value is greater than 2L by 3. So you can clearly see that first, second and third, all three are valid. Yes or no? First, second and third. Because all three are positive. Yes, all three are positive. Right? Got my point? Yes. So what you are going to do in the step number 1, you need to take the section just before the end of the beam. Take the section just before the end of the beam and write bending equation. Right. So this is a bending equation just before the end. Right. And you need to put the braces after each term to indicate whether the next term is valid or not. Is it clear? Right. And how the validity you are going to check? The term is valid only when the bracket term, the term you are getting the bracket, it is positive. Right. If the term is either negative or 0, the term will always be invalid. And the first term should always be a term which is always valid, or you can say that where no bracket term is there, only h is there. Is it clear? Or only a constant is there. So that should be your first term. Is it clear? Yes, please look at it. Please look at it. Any doubt, please ask. Any doubt, please ask. Yes, any doubt, please ask. Yes. Any doubt? Any doubt? Any doubt, please ask. Any doubt, please ask. Any doubt? Any doubt you are having? Yes. Yes. Any doubt you are having? Okay. Okay. So this is step number 1. In the step number 2, let us see how you integrate. Let us see how you integrate. Okay. So integration. So mx you got as p into h and something like that. So mx I can write as ei d2y by dh2. This is equal to p into h minus p into h minus l by 3 minus p into h minus 2l by 3. Okay. So from here, if I integrate both sides, that is an indefinite integral. If I integrate both sides, so due to the integration, the value is what? Ei dy by dx. Yes or no? Which is equal to p into h square by 2. Okay. Plus whatever the constant of integral is there, it should always come before the braces because it is always valid. Okay. So now you are going to integrate the next term. The next term is going to integrate in the form, see here, this h minus l by 3. The bracket term we are going to treat it as a h. Okay. This bracket term we are going to treat as a h. So if you are going to integrate h, it is like h square by 2. Yes or no? Similarly, if I integrate h minus l by 3, I will be integrating as h minus l by 3 whole square by 2. Okay. Because what I am saying to you that it should be integrated as a h. The bracket term should be integrated as h. Okay. Then again similar the next form, h minus 12 by 3 whole square by 2. Is it clear? Right. So this is your first equation. Okay. Now again if I integrate both sides, what is going to happen? Again if I integrate both sides, what is going to happen? Yes. Yes. What is going to happen? It will become eiy. This is equal to p by 2. H square by 2 is what? H cube by 6. That is h cube by 3. Yes or no? C1 integration is C1h plus C2. Always remember the constant is going to come before the braces. Minus p into h minus l by 3 whole square. That is we are considering as h square. Right. So it is h cube by 3. So p by 2 into h minus 3 whole cube by 3. Is it clear? Then next minus p by 2 h minus 2l by 3 whole cube by 3. Is it clear? So this is my second equation. So this is the way we do the integration. Right. Any doubt in this integration? Any doubt in this second step? Yes. Any doubt in this second step? Yes. Any doubt in this second step? Okay. 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 Next, let us look at step number 3. And this step is just a number of points, nothing more than that. Points for integration. So just point number 3 rather than it is step. Okay, it's point, nothing more than it. Step 1, 2, 3. Next. Okay. Suppose a concentrated moment is there. Suppose a concentrated moment is there. So for a concentrated moment, right? So just try to understand. Just try to understand. Suppose a concentrated moment is acting on the span. Okay. The distances are L by 2, L by 2. Right? The distances are L by 2, L by 2. Okay. The distances are L by 2, L by 2. So just see here. If the distances are L by 2, L by 2, right? And we know that what is the reaction? Come on, tell me. What is the support reaction? What is the support reaction? We know it is a concentrated moment of the clockwise. So there will be a couple in the anti-clockwise. Yes or no? With the values of M by L, M by L. Okay. Okay. So suppose you take a section HZ just before the end and you write the bending equation. Okay, you write the bending equation. So what you are going to write? Bending moment at section HZ. This left to right, we are going to move clockwise positive, anti-clockwise negative. So this M by L is creating. This M by L is creating clockwise or anti-clockwise? Come on, reply fast. This M by L is creating clockwise moment or anti-clockwise moment? Yes, it is creating clockwise moment. Yes, or anti-clockwise? Anti-clockwise, sir. So it is minus M by L into, and this M is clockwise, so it is plus M. So this is the equation that you are getting while you are moving left to right. Okay, so if I put this equation for any value of x, right, I can see that M is applicable. Let me explain that. Suppose I am saying this is section H2, H2, H2. Okay, and here I am taking the section H1, H1. Okay, so for AC portion, if I write for AC portion, what I am going to write the bending equation at section HZ? What I am going to write the bending equation at section HZ? That is H1, H1. Yes, what I am going to write the bending equation at section H1, H1? Nothing but minus M by L into H. Yes or no? If I say this distance is H, right? Where AC, the H lies between 0 to L by 2. Yes or no? But if I write for BC portion, then what is bending moment at section H2, H2? Just we have written minus M by L into H plus M. Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes. Remove the braces for this part. Okay. So what you see that? This plus M part is not applicable for the AC portion. It is not applicable for the AC portion. Yes. But For the validity of any term, the bracket term should be 0. Okay. So if you look in the equation that I frame using the braces, right? You put any value of h, the m is applicable throughout, right? Which is a wrong statement, because you can clearly see that when I'm doing it separately for AC and BC, this plus m is applicable only for the BC portion. It is not applicable for the AC portion. Is it clear? So if it is not applicable for the AC portion, we need to do something such that when I put the value of h in this equation, this plus m get invalid in the portion AC. Okay. So what I'm going to do? I'm going to replace this as mh2h2, so I'll do minus L by L into h plus m times h minus L by 2 to the power 0. So by doing this, what I said, I appointed the location of the moment. H ka power 0, that is 1 itself, no unit. Okay, but by doing this, I have specified the location of the moment, and if I integrate, I will get h minus L by 2 and not h. Is it clear? So which is going to indicate, if you are using the h between 0 to L by 2, the term will be invalid. Is it clear? The term will be invalid. Is it clear? Yes or no? Just see this. Just see this once more. Yes. Just see this once more. Just see this once more. Is it clear? Yes? Is it clear? Yes? Is it clear? Right? So what I'm saying, that if a concentrated moment is acting on the beam, on the span of the beam, what you need to do, you need to point the distance in the moment when you are using the concentrated moment in the equation. And what you are going to do, you need to keep the power of that particular distance equal to 0, so that it just point the distance and it indicates the validity over the beam. Is it clear? Right? So this is step number 3. Next, we are looking at step number 4. So step number 4 is when UDL or UVL starts and end within the span of beam. When UDL or UVL starts and end within the span of beam. Right? What it means, try to understand. Suppose the UDL is there, then any point load is there, right? So what you are seeing, that the UDL is starting and ending within the beam. Okay, so what you are going to do in this case, you are going to take the section at the end. Okay, so what you need to do, you need to extend this till the end of the beam. Okay, and whatever extension you are doing, the same amount of load you are going to apply from the bottom. Okay, suppose I'm saying that this load is of intensity W, then this will be also of W, this will be also of W, and then you need to write the equation at this section HH. So this is only when the UDL starts and ends within the span. If it ends at particular span, at any support, right? So we can take a section over there itself. Got it? Similarly, suppose UVL is there. Suppose UVL is there. Okay. So again it start and end within the span of the beam. So what I need to do, either I extend like this or I can go downward linearly. Okay. Or by doing this, whatever extra load that I applied, I will apply from the opposite direction. I will apply from the opposite direction. Is it clear? And now I can take a section in a beam. So this type of question they can ask in the objective, right? So that which of the following represent the correct way of taking the Macaulay's equation? Yes, using the Macaulay's equation. Is it clear? Is it clear? Yes or no? So that is your step number 4, when the UDL or UVL starts and end of the span of the beam, right? So this is a theory part of the Macaulay's method. So what I have learned, that this is applicable first only for prismatic beam, not for non-prismatic beam. It can be used when the uniform bending equation is not obtained throughout the beam. That is can be used only when it can be used when concentrated point load or concentrated moment is acting on the beam. Okay. There we have to see that how we are going to take the section. You need to take the section just before the end of the beam, right? And after each term, you need to put the braces in the bending equation to indicate whether the next term is valid or not. Then I've told that the term is valid only when the bracket term is positive. If it is 0 or negative, the term will be neglected. Then we have seen that how to go for the integration, in which I've told you that the constant of integration is always placed in the first term, right? Then we have seen that if the concentrated moment is there, then we should always write the distance of the concentrated moment from the one support, and you need to equate the power 0 so that it doesn't affect the units, right? And it also indicate whether the term is valid or not in the given region. Okay. Then if the UDL or UVL starts and end within the span, what you need to do, you need to extend the UDL or UVL, right? And you need to take the section just before the end by applying the opposite loading from the down. Is it clear? Yes. Is it clear? Yes. Okay. Is it clear? Right. So let us see the second question. For the beam shown in the figure, for the simply supported beam shown in the figure, for the simply supported beam shown in the figure, determine slope and deflection. Determine slope and deflection at the center. Determine slope and deflection at the center, right? So a simply supported beam is given to you. Okay. It is subjected to 2-point loads. 2-point loads. Right. Point loads of P and P at a distance of L, L, L. That is the total length of the beam is 3L. Total length of the beam is 3L. Right. Total length of the beam is 3L. You have been asked to find the deflection and slope at the center. You have been asked to find the deflection and slope at the center. Okay. You have been asked to find the deflection and slope at the center. So come on, try. You can do this You know everything. You need to take the section just before the end of the beam, right? Write the bending equation, integrate the equation, integrate the equation, and use the boundary condition. See the boundary condition, which is easy for you to get the C1 and C2 values, right? And thereafter apply the points where you have been asked to find slope and deflection. Come on, find fast. I'm giving you 10 minutes. Not 10 minutes, 5 minutes. 10 minutes is very high. Only 5 minutes. Come on, try fast. Yes. Solve, 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 solve. Try to get the answer. Try to get the answer. Yes. Try to get the answer. Yes. Try to get the answer. Yes. Yes. What you need to do? What you need to do? You just need to write the bending equation at the section h1 h1, right? After writing the bending equation at the section h1 h1, right, you put the braces after each term, okay, to see that whether the next term is valid or not. Go for the integration, go for the integration, right? Then use the boundary condition to get the value of slope, and that is the C1 and C2, right? Then you need to find the slope and deflection at the center. So put the value of the h and get the value of slope and deflection at the center. And while putting the value of h, one thing that you should be very clear that after putting, you need to check whether the term is valid or not, and that validity is given whether the term is positive or that the term is negative or zero, it will be invalid, and if the term is positive, it is valid. Come on, try. Come on, try. Come on, try, dear. Yes. Come on, try. Come on, try. Yes. Please try on your own. Please try on your own. 4 minutes left. 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 Yes. Yes. Try to get the answer. Try to get the answer. Three minutes. Come on, try fast. Try fast. Try fast, dear. Yes. Try fast. Try fast. Get the value. Get the value. Get the value. Get the value. Yes. Get the value, dear. Get the value. Get the value. Get the value. Yes. Yes. Last 2 minutes. Last 2 minutes. Last 2 minutes. Last 2 minutes. You need to write the bending equation at the section h1 h1. Right. Put the braces after each term. From moving left to right. Right. And then you do go for the integration with the constant of the integration placed at the first term, right? Then while putting the boundary condition, see whether any term is valid or not. If any term is not valid, equate it equal to 0. It is not going to use in the equation. Okay. Thereafter, after that particular point, once you get the value of c1 and c2, you need to use the h distance for the center, that you can clearly see, that is 3l by 2. Okay, and you can find the slope and deflection, at the center, right? And while putting the value of h, make sure that the term is valid, then only you are going to, okay, if the term is not valid, don't use that equation. Equation means a part of the equation which is negative or 0. Yes. Last 1 minute. Last 1 minute. Last 1 minute. Last 1 minute. Come on, try to get the answer. Try to get the answer. Try to get the answer. Try to get the answer, dear. Okay, see now. See now. Time over. So first of all, we need to see the reaction. So it is a symmetrical. So the reaction would be P and P. Okay. So now if I want to write the bending equation at section HH, I'm moving left to right. So left to right, clockwise positive, anti-clockwise negative. So first the point load that is acting at A, that is P into H, since it is clockwise, minus P into H minus L, minus P into H minus 2L. Right. So this is your MH equation. So I can write this as EI d2y by dh2. This is equal to P into H minus P into H minus L minus P into H minus 2L. Right. So this is the first equation that I am obtaining. Okay. So you can see that how I have applied the braces. Okay. Now if I integrate both sides, so integrating both sides, what I am going to get, it is EI dy by dx. This is equal to P into H square by 2 plus C1. Constant should come with the first term, minus P into H minus L whole square by 2 minus P into H minus 2L whole square by 2. This is your second equation. Okay. Now again if I integrate both sides, so when I integrate both sides, what you are going to get, EIY, this is equal to P into H cube by 6 plus C1H plus C2 minus P into H minus L whole cube by 6 minus P into H minus 2L whole cube by 6. Yes or no? So this is my third equation, right? So the first thing that I need to do is I need to eliminate these constants. So for eliminating these constants, I should use the boundary condition. For eliminating these constants, I should use the boundary condition. Use boundary condition. Use boundary condition. Right. So how I am going to use the boundary condition? By looking at the deflected shape. So due to this load, what I can see? I can see that the deflection at A and deflection at B is equal to 0. And since it is symmetric, the slope at the center, that is theta E, is equal to 0. E point was saying what? Is nothing but a center point, that is 3L by 2. So these are the things that I know, right? These are the things I know, and I can use any two out of the three boundary equation, right? So first of all, I would like to eliminate C1. So for that, I'm writing EI dy by dx, or better to say, first write for dy by dx. What is the equation? That at x is equal to 3L by 2 dy by dx is equal to 0. So we write this. So what I'm going to get? P into 0 is equal to P into 3L by 2 whole square by 2 plus C1 minus. See the next term is valid or not. You are putting h equal to 3L by 2, which is greater than L. Yes, it is valid. So minus P into h value is 3L by 2 minus L by 2. Sorry, minus L whole square by 2. So this value comes out to be 9PL square by 8. Yes or no? Right. Plus C1 minus 3L by 2 minus is L by 2. So it is PL square, 2 square into 2, that is 8. Okay. So you got this C1 as, this is 9 minus 1, 8PL square by 8, that is what? Nothing but this, you are again 9PL square by 8. Here it is PL square by 8. So it is what? 8PL square by 8, that is nothing but PL square. So C1 you got as, since you are taken to the opposite side, it will be minus PL square. C1 you are getting as minus PL square. Just check once. Yes, just check once. Yes. Okay. So that you are getting as minus PL square. Okay. Next, what I can write? At h equal to 0, y is equal to 0. At h equal to 0, y is equal to 0. So I put h equal to 0, y is equal to 0. In the third term, 0 is equal to 0 plus C2, and other terms are 0. So this implies C2 is also equal to 0. So you got the value of C1 and C2 now. Okay. So the next step is to find the slope and deflection at the center. So first of all, slope at center. That is slope and deflection at the supports, it should be there. Just a minute. The question is, you need to determine slope not at the center. At the center the deflection is there, but slope is 0. So why you are going to find that? Just write slope at ends and deflection at the center. Okay. So first of all, I am finding the slope at A. I need to find slope at A. I need to find slope at A. So slope at A means what? H is equal to 0. Yes or no? And I'm going to use this in the slope equation, which is given by dy by dx. Look at this. Yes or no? So what I'm going to write? EI dy by dx, this is equal to h is 0. So C1, all the other terms is 0. So C1 I got as minus PL square. So dy by dx is equal to minus PL square upon EI, which is nothing but slope at A. Okay. Now tell me one thing. In the magnitude, if the slope at A is PL square by 9, if the magnitude of slope at is PL square by 9, then what should be the magnitude of slope at B? Yes? What should be the magnitude of slope at B? Same? Yes or no? It should be same. Yes or no? Yes? But with the opposite sign, because you can see here that A, the slope is clockwise and B, it is anti-clockwise. So if here the value is coming as minus, so for B it should come as plus with the same value. Let's see it comes or not. So slope at B. Slope at B. B means h is equal to 3l. H is equal to 3l. Let's see. Let us put the equation. So EI dy by dx, this is equal to P into 3l whole square by 2. C1 you got as minus PL square. Minus, next term is valid, so minus P into 3l minus L whole square by 2, right, minus P into H minus, that is 3l minus P into 3l minus 2l whole square by 2. Okay, so this I obtained. Let me solve this. So what I'm going to get? This is 9PL square by 2 minus PL square minus 2L 4L square by 2, that is 2PL square, right, minus this is 3L minus 2L, that is L, so PL square by 2. Okay, so what you are going to get here? What you are going to get here? This is what? Minus 3PL square, and you can see that, okay, let me write this properly only. 9PL square by 2 minus 3, 2, 6, 7. 7PL square by 2. So that is 2PL square by 2. That is nothing but PL square. That is in plus. And this is what we should expect also. So dy by dx you are getting as PL square upon EI. This is the only thing that you should obtain. Is it clear? This is the only thing that you should obtain. Right? Is it clear? So we got slope at A. We got slope at B. Okay. Now the next part is, deflection at center. Deflection at center. So when I'm saying deflection at center, I'm saying H is equal to 3L by 2. Okay. So see this above equation. Deflection at center, EIY, P into 3L by 2 whole cube by 6 plus C1 is what? Minus PL square. Minus PL square. H is 3L by 2. C2 is 0. H, when you put in the 3L by 2, the second term will be valid. So minus P into 3L by 2 minus L whole cube by 6. Next term 3L by 2 is less than 2L, so it is invalid. So we need to equate this now. So it is what? 9 3s are 27, 27p L cube by 8 into 6, that is 48, minus this is what? 3p L cube by 2. Okay, minus this is what? 3L by 2 minus L, that is L by 2. Yes, minus p into L by L cube by 8 into 6. Okay, so if I take the LCM, it will be 48. 27 minus here it is 3, 2, 24, 24, 3, 72 minus 1. So this here it is PL cube. So 73 by 27, that is nothing but minus 46, okay, by 48 PL cube, right? So why you are getting as deflection at the center is minus 23 by 24 PL cube. Okay, so this is the result you are going to get. Is it clear? This is the result you are going to get. Okay, this is the result you are going to get, that is minus 23 by 24 PL cube. So let's check the sign convention, the last thing that we are going to go for today, nothing more than that. The last thing that we are going to go for today, let's check the sign convention. So we took the increasing direction towards right, so it is plus x, left it is minus, upward plus y, downward minus y. So we take the tangent, let us take only two tangent. So we know that anti-clockwise should be positive and clockwise should be negative, right? Anti-clockwise positive, clockwise negative. So look here, theta A is anti-clockwise, yes or no? That is clockwise. So theta A must be negative, yes or no? Theta A must be negative. Similarly, look at theta B. It is anti-clockwise, so it will be positive as per the sign convention. Yes, and deflection is downward, so deflection will be negative. Just check whether it is there or not. So you can see that slope at A negative, slope at B positive, and deflection at center is negative. Yes or no? So this proves that we have done the right thing. Okay, and let me remind you again that this type of questions don't come in the objective. This type of question don't comes in the, how can they ask such questions in the objective, dear? Okay, so they are not going to ask such questions in the objective. Be free for that. Okay, be free from that. Any doubt you are having, you can ask. Any doubt you are having, you can ask. Any doubt you are having, you can ask. Yes, any doubt you are having, you can ask. Right. So see, that's what I'm telling again and again. You should understand this point, that if you need a competitive environment, I repeat this again and again, any competition can be cleared with a competitive environment. And on the YouTube, this competitive environment cannot be there, right? This is very difficult to get a competitive environment on the YouTube. That's why there is a platform where you can interact with us. You can see a competitive environment in the live class session, or you see the recorded session. When you see the others to get reply, here what you see, one day someone is replying, the other day they are getting stopped. So that seriousness you cannot observe when you see the videos on the YouTube, right? And if the environment is not there, you are motivated for a single day, you cannot be motivated for the entire life. That's why we are saying that the Unacademy subscription is very important for you, right? The Classes are there both in Hindi and English. For example, most of you are having problems that the classes are running in English, so how can we do the SOM? Okay, no issue there. The Hindi classes are also going on, so you can go over there and join it. Right, the doubt clearing sessions are there, weekly tests are there, quizzes are there, right, daily live classes are there, rank improvement batches are starting, and the best part is you can select your course on your own. Okay, no one is going to let you that no, you have to follow this course. Okay, so you can follow this course very easily, and the interaction level over there is very different. You can understand that the difference lies everywhere, right? So please follow that. The doubt clearance part is very important. The doubt clearance parts is very important for all the students. If the doubts are not clear, it goes to the exam, and there you do the mistake. Okay, next you can see that on the Unacademy Plus, if you go for the subscription, you need to first select the goal, then click on the get subscription, right? Then use my code BAR10. After selecting the duration of the course, I would prescribe you for 12 months or 24 months. 12 months for final year students, 24 months for your second year or third year students, right? And thereafter you can see use this code my BAR10 for doing the payment either through the EMI or through any of the payment methods. And those who are new, please click on the subscribe button so that the bell notification get on and you can get all the videos that get uploaded currently. Okay, thank you so much and have a nice day.